What do a tightening siege, skies haunted by silent drones, and a missile once dismissed as science fiction have in common? They are all strands of a deadly tapestry now unfolding in eastern Ukraine, a campaign that could redraw the map of warfare and global power. To truly grasp what is playing out, imagine the ancient city of Carthage in Roman times, surrounded by legions, its fate hanging on each shipment of grain and barrel of water. Now, replace the Roman soldiers with Russian formations, and the desperate defenders with Ukrainian troops in Pokrovsk. The tools have changed, but the fundamental logic of siege, starvation, and psychological warfare remains as brutal as ever. In the battered city of Pokrovsk, thousands of Ukrainian soldiers are encircled. Russian forces are not simply attacking head-on. They are systematically severing supply routes, leaving only perilous footpaths and desperate drone airlifts as lifelines for the besieged. This is siege warfare, updated for the 21st century, with the added terror of electronic jamming and precision-guided munitions. Overhead, the constant buzz of drones fills the air, not only scouting, but delivering vital supplies, or lurking as silent threats. These machines are rewriting the rules of survival and logistics, turning every moment into a test of adaptation and nerve. Imagine a medical drone weaving through anti-aircraft fire to deliver a single box of antibiotics, sometimes the only thing standing between a wounded soldier and death. Yet the front lines are only part of the battle. Far from the craters and trenches, Russian missile strikes hammer Chernihiv, not as random terror, but as precise moves in a strategy to choke Ukraine's ability to move, resupply, and resist. Each strike sends shockwaves through the web of Ukrainian logistics, threatening to unravel the entire defense. This is reminiscent of World War II, when German bombers targeted British railways to paralyze the movement of troops and supplies. Now, the weapons are smarter, the targets more carefully chosen, and the consequences potentially even more dire. Then, a seismic shift. Russia successfully tests the Burevestnik nuclear-powered missile. Western analysts, who had once dismissed it as a fantasy, now scramble to grasp the implications. If confirmed, this breakthrough could upend the global balance of power and force a rewrite of deterrence itself. The world has not seen such a paradigm shift since the detonation of the first atomic bomb in the deserts of New Mexico nearly 80 years ago. These are not isolated acts. Each move, encirclement, surgical strikes, the unveiling of next-generation weapons, reveals a single, relentless logic. Miss the pattern, and tomorrow's threats may arrive unseen. The echoes of history are unmistakable. Just as radar and the Enigma code shaped the outcome of the Second World War, new technologies and tactics are now reshaping the very nature of conflict. Step into the fog of war to see how these threads twist together, and what they reveal about the dangerous new future emerging before our eyes. To understand what is truly at stake, we must look beyond the headlines and into the evolving strategies on both sides. The battle for Pokrovsk is just the beginning. This is not a local skirmish, but a case study in how 21st century warfare is fought, and potentially how future wars everywhere may unfold. For months, the front lines in eastern Ukraine barely shifted, stalemated, brutal, unchanging. But now, with each dawn, the entire landscape seems to lurch forward. Every day brings a fresh, calculated advance that redraws the map and resets the stakes. This mirrors the trench lines of the First World War, where months of static bloodshed suddenly gave way to sweeping offensives and breakthroughs, often at tremendous cost. The war has entered a sharp new phase. What once resembled endless trench warfare has given way to coordinated offensives. Russian forces are applying methodical pressure along several axes, from the battered outskirts of Kharkiv in the north to the scarred fields near Zaporizhzhia in the south, but their heaviest blows target Donbass. Imagine a chessboard where every pawn's advance is part of a larger, invisible checkmate. Pokrovsk now sits at the heart of this storm. There, thousands of Ukrainian soldiers are trapped in a tightening noose. Their vital supply lines are either severed or under relentless fire, turning every attempt to bring in ammunition or evacuate the wounded into a deadly gamble. The city is not fully surrounded, yet, but every hour brings that reality closer. This echoes the fate of Stalingrad, where a once thriving metropolis became a deadly cauldron of attrition. This is no isolated struggle. The entire theater is caught in a desperate contest of logistics and willpower. Autumn's mud, paired with endless shelling, transforms every kilometer into a brutal trial. No ground is won cheaply. Every mistake echoes far beyond the trenches. In the Second World War, military historians spoke of the tyranny of logistics. Now, that tyranny is enforced by drones and satellites as much as by trucks and trains. The consequences could not be more severe. If either side falters, misjudges the pace, lets supply lines collapse, the result will not simply be tactical defeat. It could trigger devastating losses and tip the balance of the conflict itself. A single failed resupply mission can doom entire battalions, just as in the Battle of the Bulge or at Dien Bien Phu. But behind the chaos on the ground, something else is shifting. A technological and strategic escalation that could change how this war and future wars are fought. At the center of this shift is a weapon almost no one expected to see in play. Imagine suffocating inside an ever-tightening ring. For Ukrainian soldiers in Pokrovsk, this is not a nightmare, but the reality closing in with every sunrise. Ammunition trickles to nothing, food rations shrink, and the chance to evacuate the wounded fades as siege warfare tightens its grip. The psychological stress is enormous. Stories emerge of soldiers rationing bullets, sharing their last meal, or writing final letters home. The only lifeline comes by drone, bobbing low, dodging constant shell fire. No truck can cross the quagmire. Every road is mined or mired, so small unmanned craft must deliver everything from bread to bullets. Even these flights face peril, not only from Russian guns, but from invisible electronic waves that jam controls, sending drones spiraling down, sometimes loaded with the last hope for those inside. This is reminiscent of the Berlin airlift after the Second World War, when American and British planes risked everything to break a Soviet blockade. Now, it is robots, not pilots, braving the skies. Within the encirclement, unease grows. Is surrender the only way out? Commanders weigh an impossible choice: stand and risk utter destruction, or accept shame and spare lives. The fate of thousands hangs in the balance, while the outcome in Pokrovsk could shatter morale across both armies. Such moments have echoed throughout history, from the defenders of Masada to the trapped soldiers at Dunkirk. Elsewhere, Russian forces advance, incremental, merciless. Ukrainian defenses erode not from spectacular attacks, but from relentless attrition. Every yard lost stretches defenders thinner, forcing them to protect too many points, unable to reinforce a single decisive front. This is the slow grind of modern warfare, where exhaustion and depletion can be deadlier than any blitzkrieg. The stakes are immense. The city's survival, the lives of thousands, and the fighting spirit of two nations are all on a knife's edge. What unfolds in Pokrovsk will not simply decide who holds it, it may alter the very confidence and capabilities of both militaries for battles to come. The loss or survival of a single city has, in other wars, changed the fate of nations. Think of Leningrad, Sarajevo, or Aleppo. Yet as the globe watches the mud and ruins, a second war rages in the ether. A battle of technology, where the power to disrupt or defend supply lines could prove as decisive as any shell or missile. Cyber attacks now target command centers, jamming radios, and even sabotaging navigation systems, a kind of invisible artillery barrage that can paralyze an army without firing a shot. But Pokrovsk is only one front in a campaign defined by evolving tactics and the relentless pursuit of advantage. The world has just witnessed a technological leap that could upend the very rules of war. When supply lines freeze and new weapons rewrite the rules, what does victory even mean? In past centuries, holding ground or capturing a city meant everything. Today, victory may hinge on who controls the flow of information, who can disrupt the other's networks, and who can adapt fastest to a changing battle space. Right now, the front lines in Ukraine are shifting, not only from brute force, but from attacks aimed at the nerves of the country. power grids, transport arteries, and repair hubs. Russian strikes on Chernihiv and other key cities are not simply about inflicting civilian casualties. They are calculated attempts to paralyze the infrastructure that moves armies, cutting electricity, disabling railways, and turning the flow of ammunition and fuel into a logistical nightmare. This echoes the Allied bombing campaigns of the Second World War, where the destruction of rail yards and oil refineries crippled entire armies. When the lights go out, entire factories fall silent. Military depots are cut off, and civilian life halts across whole regions. The loss here is not measured in territory alone, but in the sudden, suffocating stop of everything that keeps the war effort alive. In the Yugoslav wars of the 1990s, similar tactics saw power stations and bridges targeted, plunging cities into darkness and chaos. Chernihiv, for instance, is not just another city under fire. Its location makes it a direct gateway to Kyiv. If logistics here collapse, the very heart of Ukraine's command and supply network is exposed. This is a deliberate move, forcing Ukrainian commanders to defend not just the front, but the backbone of their entire war machine. Losing Chernihiv could open the road to Kyiv itself, as happened in the initial stages of the war in 2022. The weapons reshaping these calculations are not the blunt instruments of earlier wars. Modernized glide bombs now strike with precision at distances once considered impossible, putting even cities like Kyiv, once thought safe, within reach. Rear areas that used to offer sanctuary are now vulnerable. Nowhere is truly secure. This is a revolution akin to the first use of cruise missiles in the Gulf War, where deep rear targets became fair game overnight. Perhaps the most punishing aspect of this strategy is its ability to stretch defenses to the breaking point. With so many vital cities and hubs threatened at once, Ukraine faces impossible choices: defend one city and risk losing another. The result is a dangerous thinning of already strained resources, a scenario every strategist dreads. The same dilemma plagued French commanders in 1940, when German panzers struck along multiple axes at once. And as if that were not enough, a seismic shock has just altered the strategic landscape. Russia's successful test of the Burevestnik, a nuclear-powered cruise missile with virtually limitless range, has stunned even the most skeptical Western analysts. This missile is not just a new weapon, it is a statement that old assumptions about air defense and deterrence may be obsolete. The Burevestnik can literally circle the globe, weaving around known shields and striking from unexpected directions. If the technology performs as claimed, it echoes the disruptive impact of the first intercontinental ballistic missiles in the Cold War. This leap in technology forces a chilling question. How do you defend against something that does not need to refuel, can fly for days, and can come from any direction? Some experts now warn that entire air defense doctrines, decades in the making, may need to be torn up and rebuilt from scratch. In the 1960s, the advent of submarine-launched ballistic missiles forced a similar revolution in strategic thinking. But the implications do not stop at the battlefield. Compact nuclear propulsion, once a science fiction fantasy, could soon transform not just warfare, but travel and exploration itself. Imagine aircraft, or even spacecraft, powered by engines that never need to refuel, opening new frontiers while reshaping global power in ways we can only begin to imagine. The atomic age promised such marvels. Now, the reality may finally be catching up. This is not just a war of soldiers in trenches, but a contest of ideas, infrastructure, and technology. The foundations of military security are shaking, forcing nations to reconsider alliances, strategies, and even their technological ambitions. NATO, for example, is already debating new investments in missile defense and cyber warfare, while Asian powers watch closely, recalibrating their own plans. But as the world watches this high-stakes chess game unfold, the pressure on both sides is rising. What comes next may redefine not only the future of Ukraine, but the very nature of global security. In the long run, the lessons learned here could influence how Taiwan prepares for a possible blockade, how Middle Eastern states defend critical infrastructure, or how Europe responds to future threats. The old rules no longer apply. Survival now hinges on adaptation, creativity, and a sharp grasp of the shifting ground. Modern conflict is unrecognizable from just a decade ago. Drones, electronic warfare, and precision munitions are not futuristic promises. They are the new tools shaping the fate of cities and the ambitions of nations. The 21st century battlefield is as much digital as physical. Leaders who cling to 20th century playbooks find themselves outpaced and outmaneuvered. The tempo has changed, demanding a mindset that values patient, incremental gains over headline-grabbing offensives. The most decisive battles now unfold far from the cameras, where silent attrition and disrupted supply lines slowly strangle resistance and redraw maps. In Vietnam, it was the jungle and the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Today, it is fiber optic cables and drone corridors. Technological showcases, like Russia's recent Burevestnik nuclear-powered missile test, are more than engineering marvels. They are strategic signals, warning rivals, and reassuring allies. What unfolds today is not just a clash of armies, but a high-stakes race for technological dominance that will shape the next generation of security, influence, and deterrence. Just as the launch of Sputnik in 1957 shocked the West into the space race, these new demonstrations are calls to action. Tomorrow's leaders will be those who fuse old-school grit with forward-thinking innovation. Victory now means blending time-tested tactics, such as disciplined defense and relentless logistics, with rapid deployments of technology that can turn the tide. This is no accident. Advances like drone swarms and hypersonic missiles are the culmination of decades of research, unleashed under the relentless pressure of today's battlefield. In Israel, rapid deployment of anti-drone systems has already changed the calculus for defending against rocket attacks. The price of stagnation is steep. Nations that fail to adapt will see their security wither, their technological edge dulled, and their influence slip away. The rules are being rewritten before our eyes. Those who miss the signs risk losing more than a battle. They risk irrelevance in a world transformed. The decline of empires has often followed their inability to keep pace with new technology, from the Ottoman Empire's failure to modernize to the collapse of the Soviet Union. In eastern Ukraine, the consequences of these shifts are unfolding in real time. As Russian forces tighten their grip and technology reshapes the fight, every decision now holds outsized weight. The choices made here, in moments of confusion and crisis, will ripple through military doctrines and political alliances for years to come. The true contest unfolding is not just about who claims victory today, but who will dictate the rules of conflict tomorrow. Those who adapt, innovate, and learn fastest will shape the future, not just of Ukraine, but of the entire global order. What plays out across the scarred fields of eastern Ukraine is more than a string of urgent headlines. It is a glimpse into the future, where military power fuses with technology and strategy to reshape the world's balance. While the news may focus on fallen towns or shattered lines, a deeper transformation is underway. One blending the old grind of attrition with precision strikes, drones, and digital warfare. This is a revolution in military affairs, unfolding in real time before the world's eyes. This struggle is bigger than who holds Pokrovsk, or which flag rises over any single city. The real stakes lie in adaptation, who learns faster, who wields the new weapons more effectively, and who writes the rules for an era where war is waged with code as much as with cannons. In the 21st century, information is often a more potent weapon than firepower itself. Your understanding of the world, and your ability to navigate its future, depends on recognizing these shifts before they are written into history books. If you wait until the dust settles, you will already be living in a world shaped by others' choices. The rise of the internet, the spread of drones, the birth of artificial intelligence, each was once ignored by those who failed to see their transformative power. So next time you scan a headline, ask yourself, who is forging the rules in the shadows, and what kind of future is taking shape while the rest of us look away? Consider what practical steps you can take to stay informed and resilient. Seek out multiple sources, question easy narratives, and never stop learning. History belongs to the vigilant, the adaptable, and the bold.